So if you're watching this, then you really probably don't want me to tell you just drink more water and have more fibre, because chances are you've tried that like a million times and you're still really, really constipated and it's adding stress and anxiety to your morning. You just want to have boring, regular bowel movements. But that simple thing feels like the most elusive thing to you ever. If that's you, this is my video for you. I'm going to be talking about some of the things that could be the root cause of your constipation that you've probably not heard of, but that I've seen in my last 10 years in clinic as a holistic nutritionist have made a massive difference to my clients in helping them have boring, regular, drama-free bowel movements. Okay, so let's get down to business. I'm going to throw in as many toilet puns as I can here, because who doesn't love a bit of a toilet chat? And I love talking about poo. I love talking about bowels, because I used to have awful, horrendous, really stressful, anxiety-inducing, life-limiting bowel issues. And I'm guessing you're watching this video because there's something like that going on with you. And you'll have people around you that have really boring, simple bowels. And you're just like so jealous, and they don't know how good they've got it, right? And you're sitting there being like, you're just going to the toilet, and you probably have so much angst or pain or discomfort around it. Anyway, so I want to talk today a little bit about constipation specifically, and what could be some of the root causes going on there. Well, I don't really want to complain about the sun being out, but it does mean this is going to be a very crow's feet based video, isn't it? And also I can't really see anything. The joys of summer sun. Summer sun? Winter sun. First of all, let's do a really quick thing on why does it matter if you're constipated, and what are we really aiming for? When I'm working with clients as a holistic nutritionist, I'm really aiming for people to be having at least one bowel movement a day, ideally 2. You can Google the Bristol stool chart. So you're wanting to get like a healthy texture, regularity, and create really boring, no drama, easy poos. That's the goal. And the reason that is important is that when you're pooing, it's the body removing and releasing anything, all the things in the body that isn't serving it anymore. It's releasing toxins, it's releasing old hormones, it's releasing a lot of toxic substances that the liver has worked really hard to gather up, transform, and now eliminate from the body. So if you're not eliminating it at a really timely manner, you can get a lot of bloating, a lot of brain fog, you can feel really sluggish, it can really impact your mood. Many years ago, I used to work a lot in care homes with the elderly, and you could see it was a really good representation of if somebody I was supporting was constipated, it could change their whole personality sometimes, in terms of being very kind, whatever, very gentle, to really shifting their whole personality because of how that constipation was impacting the brain. So a bit of a simple story, but it really demonstrated to me at the time how important our bowel movements were. So that's from a mental health perspective, a hormone perspective, obviously a digestive health and gut microbiome perspective. They make a huge difference. I didn't quite realize how wet it is. This is very bog-like. Pretty appropriate though, considering we're talking about poo. Let's just dive into the really juicy one that a lot of people don't talk about a lot, and that is serotonin. So a lot of your serotonin, about 90 to 95% of your serotonin made within the body, is actually made within the gut. And its function is to support gut health and gut motility. So I'm talking about gut motility. That's a fancy word of the movement of the gut. And when there's constipation issues, there's always some element of dysfunction or sluggishness going on within this motility. If you're thinking about what constipation is, it's your not being able to poo regularly, meaning the digested food that's getting digested through your intestines is kind of, let's just say, getting stuck, for want of a better phrase, somewhere within your digestion. Often it's in that sort of lower colon. So your gut motility plays a huge role, and serotonin plays a really big role in constipation. So I've had clients who've come to me, I'm thinking of someone came to me, she's been constipated since she can remember as a child. So like since 6 or 7, sitting on the toilet, having stress, getting hemorrhoids, pushing, and she was now in her 30s. She had done all the prunes, all the fibre, all the water, all the laxatives, all the healthy eating more vegetables. She'd bought random probiotics. She'd literally done everything. She worked, she was a beautician, so she worked closely with people in her job, and she was often having wind issues and farting because of all this kind of trapped poo essentially in her body that really stressed her out at work, because you don't want to be, I don't know, giving someone a massage and then farting in their face, understandably. And so she had done all the things. And then when I have someone like that, when I have a client presenting with something like that, I immediately think serotonin. There must be some sort of low serotonin. So a bit of a serotonin 101. Reasons for low serotonin, there can be a lot. So obviously there's medications. If you're on a serotonin SSRI or an SNRI, the different kind of antidepressant and mental health medications out there obviously can have an impact on your gut health. Low B12 can impact serotonin. Sometimes serotonin is made from amino acids, tryptophan, and that comes from protein. So if you've been eating a very carbohydrate-based diet, maybe you've been primarily plant-based and not getting enough of your protein, that can really impact your serotonin. Lots of things, genetics, there's a lot of factors that can play a role. So serotonin is a really big one, and that often doesn't get talked about, but I see it with my clients quite a lot of the time, that if your serotonin is low, and that can be genetically driven, I will run genetics tests with clients, that could be nutrient driven, whatever it is, then that's really not going to help you with your gut motility, which is not going to help you to have regular, boring bowel movements. Another one that's probably is a bit more popular and talked about is food intolerances. So I've found with clients when, and this doesn't always play a role, some of the time this isn't a huge factor, but it definitely is our root cause. It might not be everybody with constipation's root cause, but food intolerances, whether that's gluten, dairy, those are the big hitters of things, pulses. But I've had clients who, like I had a client who, if she ate almonds, it affected her bowels. So these can be really personalized, really nuanced. But a lot of my times with clients, I always want to make sure we test and experiment with removing gluten, with removing dairy, seeing how that impacts the bowels. If it does, if it doesn't, great, let's reintroduce the whole food versions of those foods. But checking out your food intolerances can be really helpful and can play a really huge role in just supporting overall gut health. The next thing, which is a big thing, and again, doesn't often get talked about, and it's linked to that motility, but not directly, is chemical digestion. So, bit of digestion 101. When you eat food, it gets into your stomach, and then in order to break the food down into the right kind of molecules that's needed to transfer into your bloodstream, just to keep it really simple, you need to break down proteins, fats. Remember, your body's primarily water, so fat and water don't love each other. You need to break down carbs, sugar. So part of chemical digestion is making sure you have enough stomach acid, making sure you have enough digestive enzymes, and making sure you have enough bile to help break down fats. Now, all of these factors need to be made and released. And so there can be a lot of sluggishness or things that go wrong with this, if you think about it. So if you're eating protein, for example, and you're not breaking it down, this kind of undigested proteins can sort of ferment in the gut, change the pH of your small intestine, and have a huge knock-on effect. So what's that got to do with constipation? But if you're not properly breaking down your food, what can happen is that you're getting, simply put, a lot of partially digested food within the gut microbiome. That can change A, the type of bacteria that are growing there, and B, sometimes the pH, the actual acid or alkalinity balance within the small intestine especially, and that has a huge impact on a whole lot of cascading chemical reactions and pathways within the body. So one of the first fundamental things of constipation is making sure you are A, chewing properly. So you're breaking down your food. You're not just going like one chew, swallow, that you chew properly, and then that you support your chemical digestion. There's a lot of things that can really help with that. Simple breath work and breathing can make a difference, but also things like I often support my clients with supplemental stomach acid support, bile support, enzyme support. There's a whole lot of things you can do, but you need to figure out which of those chemical digestions is imbalanced. So you might not need help with stomach acid, you might need help with bile, and vice versa. But that is a really big one. Again, doesn't get talked about a lot, but it plays a really big role, especially if you like chowing down the prunes and the lentils and the vegetables and the water, and you're still like, or pooing like every 2 or 3 days, then that can make a big difference. So the next one is the overall health and state of your gut microbiome. So one aspect of this is how strong and how diverse is your gut bacteria, and that kind of the health of your microbiome. So if you've had if you've had specific medications, if you've been on a lot of antibiotics, then chances are the diversity of bacteria in your gut will be affected, and that can impact the regularity and health of your bowel movements. The next thing, which I see all the time, is actually gut infections or dysbiosis within the microbiome. So a lot of the time, this might look like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Sometimes it's known as small intestinal fungal overgrowth. Sometimes it's known as, there's versions of intestinal methane overgrowth. But basically, it's when there's too much of bad bacteria in the gut. And if you're kind of like chronically constipated, like all the time, it doesn't really fluctuate other than get worse, and you feel like you've tried everything, then when I've seen a lot of clients like that, often there is some form of SIBO or this kind of more chronic infection happening. And so you need to target that. For example, certain bacterial or even fungus or yeast in the gut can increase the production of methane, and that itself can slow the bowels down. So it's quite a complex area. But if you're like occasionally constipated, this probably isn't happening for you. But if you feel like you are chronically constipated, feel free to let me know with a little emoji in the comments if you're comfortable to. Then potentially there's something like SIBO, SIFO, IMO, something like that going on. When you need to address that, then that's why more fiber and more water isn't working for you, because it's not your constipation. The root cause isn't a lack of fiber. The root cause is a disruption in the ecosystem that is your intestines. So being constipated chronically absolutely sucks. And obviously, if you haven't tried the whole drinking more water and having fiber, do start there. Fiber is important, water is important. But I know from my work as a nutritionist for the last 10 years and helping hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with their gut issues, hormone issues, and mental health issues, often there's something deeper at play if staying hydrated and adding more fiber isn't working for you. There's often something deeper happening, and you need to look at the whole digestive system, look and approach and gather data on the gut microbiome as a whole in order to figure out what your unique root causes are. There will be a reason you're constipated, and you can live and you can create normal boring bowels. I've seen that over and over and over with clients. I see it every single week. I've seen it in my own life. But you first need to understand and uncover what is driving your constipation. Like, what is really going on there? And chances are it might be one of these things that I've shared. There is a lot more reasons out there, but this would be a really long video if I went into all of them. But thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, then do put them in the comments below. Otherwise, make sure when it comes to your constipation that you understand, you gather data, you get support. You can work with me in a root cause session. I'll put the link below on what is your root cause, the root cause of your constipation, because when you target that, you can actually make progress way quicker than you realize. I've had clients within a couple of weeks going from severely constipated to having regular, healthier bowel movements. So it's possible for you too. Have an amazing day. Thank you for joining me.